Hi, boys and girls. Today we are going to do our final wit and wisdom lesson for kindergarten. We are going to take all the learning that you have done during Module 3 and put it together in a little book to show how his life in America changed over time. Here are some of our module texts. You recognize a bunch of them across the top. School then and now, home then and now, transportation then and now. When I was young in the mountains. We also read The Little House by Virginia Lee Burton. Unfortunately, we did not get time for Now and Ben, but like I said, I will include a link to the story at the end of this video. So if you'd like to take a look at that and learn a little bit about Benjamin Franklin, you can do so. So through this whole module, we have been focusing on our big question, how his life in America changed over time. We first read the nonfiction text, Home, Then, and Now. We had some notices, and I created a few wonders about what life was like in America in the past. Then we picked out our main idea and key details. And from that, you created a response about how your life is different now than it was back then. I pulled up the screen of our notices and wonders that I created from Home Then and Now. This just included some details from the story about how family kept food in ice boxes, family took baths in tin tubs, and the bathroom was outside. Home looked a lot different than it does today. I'm sharing the chart that I created that we worked on together in the first lesson about America Then and Now. Our main idea or our main topic of this nonfiction text was that life at home was different in the past than it is now. There were some key details that we found. Families kept food in the icebox. Now we use refrigerators. Families took baths in tin tubs. Now we use bathtubs. Families cooked using wood-burning stoves. Now we use gas or electric stoves. Families used the bathroom outside. Now we use bathrooms inside. I want you to take a look at these key details because you are going to be using key details from each of our 3 nonfiction texts today to create a little book about how America has changed. I want you to take a look at these details and I want you to choose one. I want you to choose one of these details that shows how life at home was different in the past than it is now. I'm going to choose mine. Families took baths in tin tubs. Now we use bathtubs. I want you to go ahead and I want you to rehearse out loud, verbally rehearse what you want your key detail to be. I want you to hold that in your mind because you're going to be using that for your response today. Now, we didn't just learn about home in the past. The next thing we learned about was school. I brought up our slide for when we started the story, or I'm sorry, the nonfiction text, School Then and Now. I found this one super interesting because I spend so much time in school and I can't imagine what it was like to teach or to be a student in school back then. To get your brain thinking back, I pulled up the notice and wonder chart I created as we read that story. My notices included some key details. Students shared desks. Schools had only one room, and there were students of all ages in one class. Our main topic from that story was that school was different in the past than it is now. I'm going to read the key details. These key details are set up in the same way they were set up from Home Then and Now, but instead our main topic now is about school. Students had to share desks. Now students have their own desks. The school only had one room. Now schools have many rooms. There were students of all ages in one class. Now classes are grouped by grade level. Students had to walk to school. Now students ride the bus. I want to choose one of these key details to use for my little book I'm going to create. All right, I have one. Listen to mine. Students had to walk to school. Now students ride the bus. Your turn. I want you to find one key detail that you want to choose for your little book about how life in America has changed over time. And I want you to practice it right now. Hold that in your mind. We're going to need that. Let's move on to transportation. Remember, transportation is how people move from place to place. I thought this one was interesting as an adult who drives and makes plane trips. I think it's kind of neat for you kids too, because you ride in cars, you may go on planes, maybe you've been on a cruise ship or a train or a subway or something like that. Let me pull up our key detail chart. Our key detail chart looks a little bit different on this lesson because instead of just making sentences, I created a T-chart to show what life was like back then and compared it to what life is like now. Let me read some of those details. Wagons took people across the country. Now, trucks take people and things across the country. Then, people traveled on streetcars. Now, people in cities travel on subways. Then, ships took people to discover new places. Now, ships take people to familiar places. Then, the first car was built. Now, there are many different types of cars. Then, airplanes were new. Now, airplanes fly all the time and all over the world. Let's see. I know what I'm going to choose. Since I drive a car, I'm going to choose the key detail about the car. I think I'll say it as people didn't ride in cars. Now there are many different types of cars. I had to change the words there to get it to make a sentence that made sense. I want you to choose one. This one's a little more challenging. And think about what you want to write about. So I created some sentence starters, and these are the sentence starters you're going to have on your book. Ooh, let me get back to that screen. All right, so here's our sentence starters. At home, people used to, remember mine was, take baths in tin tubs. Now, people use bathtubs. I know you practiced your sentence already. So when you make your book, you can go ahead and you can either write or use the typing tool on Seesaw to put it in and draw a picture. You could draw a picture of what people use now or what people used in the past, or both if you want to split the screen. At school, students used to walk to school. Now, students ride the bus. All right, I'm going to change this next one. To move around, people did not drive cars. Now, people drive all different kinds of cars. So those are my sentences. That would make up my book about America then and now. I can't wait to see what you share and what you learned in Module 3.